against the ground. And my eyes filled with sand. As I scan this wasted life.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Occult Rejects, episode 3, part 2. I didn't want to kill you for a 3.5 hour straight video, so here is the end of it. Thank you very much if you're coming back and listening to this part. That's what's up. I appreciate you spending the time and attention. We're going to get right back into it. We're going to start off where we left off, still in the retina. Like I said before, I forgot, there's a lot to do with this. And so here we go. One thing that I did find funny in some of the pictures that I was showing before, I when I was looking at this original one on the right, this one showing all that stuff, I actually did start to wonder, and I do want to take a look at some books now, especially the Voynich manuscript, or maybe even Agrippa's. Some books that cover supposedly herbs, and we're like, what the hell are those things? I've never seen that before. Could it even actually be this stuff right here? Could they have been drawing this and we have no friggin' clue? But I'm like a big Modest Mouse fan. And I did know, I was like, yo, that thing looks like a freaking mouse right there. And they do have a song, King Rat. And again, I'm not knocking people when I say that I think they're into a magic or occultism. But like this stuff he says, if people even listen to them or know who they are, you might even take he says weird stuff, a weird dude. I think he's definitely, he knows what he's doing when it comes to this stuff, I do think. So I had even wondered, this is from one of the albums. I mean, it's even Falling Down, or before, if we were talking about that thing or that hook being a spear or maybe an arrow. I could see how maybe that's why there's arrows now in the ceiling hanging down, just like these things would be. And then there's a little fucking mouse over there, chilling out. Modest little mouse. Honestly, I was even saying to them before, I don't know if people have ever noticed, on social media, there's I do have a rat or a mouse and with a robe and a sword, and I put it on the Christmas tree because to me that's occult symbolism and goes along with this and tons of other stuff. So, to me, them, a Modest Mouse or a rat or whatever, I could see all that coming into play with occult symbolism. So I just wanted to toss that in there, and then I think I'll continue on from this. This I thought was interesting. Again, we're just going to go back to the lights. I like to call them lights because they look like lights. The Christmas lights, the cones and the rods. Even when you start looking at, the stele. I mean, to me, I don't see this starting to be a hard stretch of stuff in your freaking eyeballs at this point. I mean, we got the casing. That could be the back of the retina where it starts getting the back of the eyeball when it starts getting dark. We got, this could be a lens, or serrata, the lens. I mean, these rods, cones right here. I don't think it's a far stretch to start questioning if this thing is pointing at your eyeballs. Again, like I was even saying about the throne, could that be the optic nerve? Is that why they're sitting in this shit? This, I had questioned. Actually, it'll make more sense when I get to the other ones.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Even the halos and the circles depicted above their heads and, the crescent moons and stuff. It just, maybe it's relating also to eye shape.
Well, these I'll show the stuff that you mentioned before, those crowns. To me, that is just the nerves that are hanging in the vitreous humor.
Oh, like a laurel wreath?
Yeah. It even looks, maybe I didn't show it. I thought maybe I might have covered it in the last one. Maybe I didn't, and it's something that I showed on tarot after the fact of covering this, because I have come across other stuff. Obviously, that's why I even had to fix my opinion on the Hermit card. But there was, like, the nerves in the back of the vitreous humor, they hang just like fucking, like, those wreaths on top of these chicks' head, the UN symbol, all that. So it looks just like that. It even crosses at the top a little bit like that.
Yeah.
It looks just like that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I was, like, starting to wonder about some tarot cards possibly, like, showing maybe the rods and the colors, like, being turned off or maybe turned on, depending on which way you're going. But, like, I know, again, like, you know, I was even showing Nui before. She's, like, the same color as this thing. The encasing, possibly. You know, he has, like, these colors on here. I mean, the wings have already moved from the feet up to the head now. He's got a dark mask on. You know, green. That's one of them as well. You know, so I don't know if, like, that's possibly showing him, like, slaying the green one. You know, we had talked about it earlier, and I have a couple of ideas, and I think one of them made total sense to Lisa, too, and she might be able to explain it better. You know, when you start going on with the eyeball and stuff, it's like I could see how the cones, how you have green, red, and blue, and you're like, fuck, where's the other element coming from? Where's the fourth one from? Now, she did say something about yellow coming into play with, you know, other lights and stuff, but I had also wondered, when you do rituals, you're facing to the east. You're facing to the rising sun. That's where, you know, air and yellow is. Could it actually be you taking in with your eyes open is the yellow, and then you closing them is just like part of like defeating that part, that color. So, but I don't know, Lisa, I think you said you had said a few things to me. I think it just I guess with the morning sun and all that stuff that you said could tie into it, maybe make sense of that, actually.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Like when the sun is on the horizon, yeah, you see a bunch of red and yellow, orange as well.
Horizon. No, Horus.
Yeah. But again, even with the medium cones, you see the ratio being measured against the green. And so it's not that your cones are not perceiving yellow. They are perceiving yellow. It's just when they were labeling cones, they labeled it as, it perceives a green light spectrum, which, it is pretty dominant in the visible spectrum. But that medium cone is measuring the difference between green to yellow, and then basically feeding back that ratio. So yellow is included in there. It's just you have to dig into the literature to really know, or you be familiar with all that to know that that is what's happening. And it's called color opponency, in that it's measuring ratios. It's not like flicking on switches or like, oh, we saw a blue light, or oh, we saw a red spectrum. No, it's not like that. It's basically measuring how many of the cones were simulated versus the other ones, and then measuring that ratio and then feeding back that information to be deciphered by the brain.
See, even talking about like the ratio and that stuff, like this might be grass, but like that still makes me think about like pulling something apart from each other. I don't know. This card I found interesting because like even going by, I think, the percentage of the colored cones, if you do red, green, and then blue, and then possibly maybe, again, like I said, maybe the yellow coming from the sun with the open eye, or maybe that's just, the differentiation between green and yellow. But, like, to me, like, even the strength card, I was wondering if, like, these lions and then this, this stuff around this chick has something to do with, like, the actual colored rods.
Yeah, like we mentioned in the previous episode, the cones, the long cones that perceive the red wavelength are the largest in population in the retina. So you see this card and you see that the lion itself is red and it's the largest of the lions. And then you see the green and the yellow associated together. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
I've even wondered if that's like part of why, like, if you already make a Mars or a Chesed, Mars or Gabora like type of talisman, the flashing color, the original, the color you're supposed to use dominantly is red, and then the flashing color will be green. You know, so it's like showing you that there is a little bit of green. It's like, are you heading towards that now? You know, and then green is also the flashing color. A ton of it is, most of it will be green, but then the flashing color will be red. You know, there is like a, I guess, kind of like a relationship between that. And I'm wondering if it's like showing the progression of like moving among that stuff in your eye.
Well, and also on the color wheel, they're opposites. Right. Same with blue and yellow, I think, or blue and orange. Pretty close.
I mean, I had even wondered about this. I had posted recently. I don't think I have the picture though, but like if you get certain pictures of the lens and it's almost looking down on it, I guess like it almost kind of looks like a shield. But then like some of them that I've even posted almost start to look like a fucking sandworm. You know, like I even made a post something, you know, with Elon Musk recently. Because he posted something about Dune, and I'm like, well, the fucking snakes from Dune look just like your lens. You know, so like the lenses and like this stuff in the background, is that kind of like, you know, maybe even showing like the colors, they're aligned, you know. Because again, it's like you're getting a lot of the same colors that go along with them as well. Red, green, yellow. Then you have the dark that could possibly like be showing like the back part of the brain, the eye. King of Cups. I mean, to me, this guy's got a rod and a cone in his hand already. And he's blue. And this is mostly blue. And again, you had said like the blue is like the strongest but the smallest amount as well, right? I mean, you know, maybe if you conquer that one, you're the fucking king. I don't know.
Well, it is definitely the most potent of the spectrum.
And then I didn't, I didn't want to go on too much about these, but I will show them. I had wondered, like, if these, like the Knight of Cups, one from the Toth deck, like, are they showing possibly, like, the same thing, something with the progression of, like, those colors in your eyes? See, like, I thought this one was weird. Like, if this one is swords, this would go with air, this would go with the sun. But then I'm like, all this blue and then the birds. But then, like, honestly, if you're looking at the sun, I mean, for the most part, especially if you live out in the country, all you're going to see is green grass and blue skies. And clouds. Or now, I guess maybe he's depicting chemtrails here. Maybe.
The modernized.
This is what your sky is going to look like in a few years, guys. So is that where, like, the yellow comes into play? And then the horse of that, the one in charge of that is, the sun. And then the next one would be green. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or when you close your eyes. But, like, I did wonder, like, are they showing these colors, again, because of, like, going in progression of, like, colors or wavelengths in your eyes that's getting turned off? I mean, this one even looks like sealed. Oh, the hats. I thought these hats looked very much like some of the things we looked at before.
Totally.
The Egyptian headdresses. Even the one that, like, kind of like you said, looked like a beehive if you took off that top part.
Yep.
It looked very much like a beehive. I even thought like this. Like, I remember before you had mentioned something about, Jupiter. Or like Easter eggs. Like, is that what this is? To tell you the truth, I even wondered if this, I don't know if people will be able to see it that well, but, like, Israel Gardi has, like, the pomegranate book. And, like, I could see these, like, again, like being, trees possibly. And these look like the fruit that fell from the tree. Pomegranates or some shit. I don't know. Just very weird.
Yeah. Just like Game of Thrones says, maybe we live in the eye of a giant.
Yeah, blue-eyed giant, right? This is a crazy picture. I love that shit.
Doesn't that just look like a coral reef?
Yeah, it does, yeah. I'll leave it
Seriously.
up. But, like, here again, like, you can see, like, I mean, that thing kind of looks like that Egyptian thing I was showing.
Well, and that with the cross-section of the layers reminds me of the petroglyph figures on their bodies. It was a lot of, like, stacked up lines.
Oh.
Yeah.
And this I had, again, I even wondered, like, is this red, green, very little blue in the background, the yellow? Is she the hyaloid canal? Could that be, like, the nerves at the top? And then this is showing you, like, the unyoking of your eyes. hopefully you people remember some of these numbers because I did cover these. I think I forgot this one when I was showing matching. But Golgi in Hebrew gematria does equal 93. Golgi in English gematria equals 300, which I said multiple times for other things. And Golgi in simple equals 50, which I mentioned multiple times for other things. You also get omega, you get cedar, bark, ID chip. You know, bark backwards could be crab. Magic ball, OMFG. I want to include that one. Then in the English in simple, you get June, America, Donald, Apple, FTX, Chiefs, Lion and Snake again. I mentioned that before. Chart, NATO, INRI, cocaine, Nazi, ganglion. I found this one a little bit interesting. It's 174 in Hebrew, and then English 474, and then simple English 79. It matches Batman, Decipher, Night with a K, Ho Ho Ho, Christmas, Intel, Bombs, Scar. Now, could that be Scar from Lion King? And we've already mentioned a few of them. Acorn, ASCII code. So that's a little interesting because if you go look up what the symbols of ASCII code looks like, you'll be like, wow. Citibank, the dog. Yeshua, Ukraine, Mother, Virgin, Greenpeace, Alpha Omega, Nature, Miami Heat, Walter, Oranges, and Orlando. Oranges are associated with the sun. And Orlando's in Florida. So I find that interesting. They got plenty of oranges there over in Florida. Lincoln, Nirvana, Sword, Mobius, Democrat, and Lemuria. Plexiform equals 560 in Hebrew, 708 and 118 in English. In Hebrew, it matches Knights Templar, May 5th, Manipulation, 4th, Seal, May 8th, Re-utters, Trumps, Uranium, Mountains, Ghost in the Shell. You know what's funny? Me and Teresa were like, yo, I'm even wondering if the idea of ghosts have come from the eyeball. Great Reset, it matches in English and simple gematria. The Matrix, Microsoft, The Storm, Ivermectin, Just Do It, Dallas, Texas, and Bluetooth. Two Keys, iTwitch, Scottsdale, Peter Thiel, Sephiroth, The Awakening. Then this one is melanocyte.
Melanocyte.
Yeah, I even found that interesting how Milan. That matches Corey Good in Hebrew gematria. The Golden Key, the Fibonacci Sequence, Satanic Ritual, Phantom of the Opera, and Entity, Myrtle Beach, Scottish Rite, Cross of Lorraine, Connecting the Dots, Modest Mouse, and 4 months.
Stop.
Then in English and simple gematria, you have Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Apocalypse, Trumpet, This Is It, horrible fucking show, Universe, Salvation, Protest, White Hats, Britney, April 8th, which is the first day of the writing of the Book of the Law, The Creator, Hyperborea, Operation, The Answer, Black and White, Wolf Moon, and Rapunzel, as well as Child of Light, Scooby-Doo, Santa Claus with a W, Matt Gates, Elton John, Kevin Gates, Pentecost, Resistance, Moonlight, Kobe Bryant, and Gaslighting. They're gaslighting a lot of motherfuckers out there, aren't they? Then with photoreceptors at 736 in Hebrew, and then in English, gematria and simple, 1128 and 188. With Hebrew, you get Britney, Conspiracy, Rosemary, Gabby Petito, Panda Express, Hungry, Blood Pressure, Manly Palmer Hall, Communist Anthem, Beelzebub, Corey Fisher, The Sixth Seal, Ritual Killing, Fight for Trump. Keep doing it. Dallas Zoo, Jesus of Nazareth, The Shroud of Turin, Putin dead in November. So listen, if something happens to Putin this coming November, we called it first. King Charles of Wales, Judgment is coming, Rapture is coming, Central Intelligence. April 14th, President Kennedy, China will attack us. Fuck. 2 olive trees, and the Archer is the key. We were just talking about the Archer and Modest Mouse before, wasn't it? The fuck? Rise from the ashes, Bavarian Illuminati, Crown of Thorns.
I was going to bring up the Crown of Thorns later.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I think you might have mentioned that to me. I was like, yo, that's fucking great. Because I was like, I think I had already seen that and like knew that was something. I do have other stuff that I was going to go into with Gematria for Nuit. Did you want to say anything, Teresa, before I... No? Okay.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, then I will just pick that up and read off some of that stuff. That I find rather interesting as well.
A lot of crazy matches.
Yeah. It's really weird. For sure.
When you were talking about the Golgi, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
When you were talking about the Golgi, so the Golgi part of the cell is the packaging component. That's where all the proteins are packed. And you mentioned a bunch of things to where they're associated with packaging, and I was like, yeah.
Oh.
And it was discovered by an Italian scientist.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
Italian came up before, too.
I know, that's what you said, Italiano or something.
Yeah,
like
Italiano comes up. Italian. The Astrum Argentum wasn't. Well, the Abbey of Thelema was supposedly in Italy. So yeah, right.
So anyway.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to cover like the goddess Nuit, and she does have like a bunch of different names. You can have Nenu, Nunu, Nun, Coptic, which I find interesting. Would be Noin. So I mean, like Coptic, even that. I think that comes up later. I might actually have that. Feminine, Nut. It's just Nuit, Nent, Nunent, tons. She's got a few names. Nen. I thought it was actually interesting how it equals banana, all the way across. I don't know. I mean, I know I have mentioned bananas being used as occult symbolism, and that actually mean like something sexual, but. I mean, maybe that goes back to it for all I fucking know. Anime.
Real quick, NY. You said Noon or Nuun, right?
Yes,
I think for the goddess.
Yes.
And so it reminds me of the two retinas, how they're bowls.
That's
right.
Yes.
And then you just said banana with the ends, double ends. Okay, that's it. That's my contribution.
Nice.
Oh, well, you remember when I had, I should have included it. If you take like a U and an N and an S and play around with it, like even the UN, the Un or the Nu that can be used for Nuit, like if you put SUN and if you consider the hyaloid canal bending like an S, you can have the U, you can have the S in there and an upside N, and that little piece coming off would be the optic nerve going back into your head. So I could see the sun and noon like all like being like wordplay on parts of your eye. In here with Nen, it does equal, I can say 85 and then 198. And then in simple gematria, though, 33. So I even found that interesting, how it does even equal 33. And you do get anime, main, feline, emo, amen, magic, app, Kobe, Sam. Sam matches 33. And it also matches, that's it. The 33. Isaac, Gay, Kim, Banana again, because it matches all three. Pi, Gate. Then over to Nuit, you get 349, 384, 349 for the Hebrew, and then 384, and then 64 for the English. That matches Focus, Nuclear, Sam Bankman-Fried, Ace of Hearts, Gift from God, Historic, I Can't Breathe, Serial Killer, Capstone, and it matches Pupil. Nuit matches Pupil.
Wow.
This is the Dark Goddess, obviously.
Yeah.
Drop the Mic, April 18. Yeah, I even mentioned other numbers before. April 19, April 18. Now these things are like close to each other. Opium, A Pole Shift, Dale Earnhardt, Joe Biden, Israel, Peter, Musk, Takeoff, Zion, Test, Chosen, Titan, Thelema, American, Anton, and Macron. Michigan.
Titan.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Titan with the Ocean Gate thing. What just happened? Sorry.
Michigan, Mercy, Tiamat, Klaus, Joshua, Spell, Gitmo, Arnold, Tenet, Nikita, Israel, Pupil equals can also equal 349 and 444 and 74 in simple gematria. Some of the things. April 18, showing you again that matches April 18. Jesus, Lucifer, gematria, Joshua, Messiah, Jewish, Aurora, Muhammad, Penny, London, Masonic, Cross, Nuclear, Energy, The Key, Tarot, Beauty, English, and Katrina. I am Batman, the Omega, the King, Occult, San Diego 80, Rolex, Red Bull, Space Ark, and DeLorean. All match Pupil. Then the hyaloid canal, which matches the same thing as the pupil for English gematria. Hyaloid canal is at 492 and 444 for English gematria, and then 74 for simple gematria. It does share the English gematria, though, 444 as well. That you get Gray, Punisher, Holiday. This is for Jewish gematria. The Internet, Comedy, Artificial Intelligence. Then for the simple gematria, you will get Jesus, Lucifer, Joshua. I already mentioned most of these because of the previously. Nut, you get 340 for Hebrew or 330 for English. Again, you just knock off that 0, you get 33. And 55 in simple gematria. And in Hebrew, it matches Christian, Nibiru, Demiurge, Roku, Ancient God Ra, Helicopter, Chip Implant, Titans, Satan, Balenciaga, Heaven, JFK Jr. Sorry, this is now with the English and simple. Judas Jewel. It also matches Iris, Piano, Club Q, Video, Bones, Wicked, Freya, Ganesha, Wakanda, Shine, Uncle, Caruncle, Nunit, 580 for Hebrew. English is 540, and then simple would be 90. Dancing in the Moonlight, Christ's Bloodline, Popeye. Then for the English and simple gematria, you have January, Matthew, Hallelujah, Sebastian, who was the main character in what was that movie that we quoted?
Never-ending Story.
Yes, Never-ending Story. Hidden Codes, Netflix, Honorable, Antarctica, Holy Bible, Morning, Reality, Golden Gate, at Autumn, Polaris, God is Here, Sister, The Moon, Brad Pitt, Oxygen, Celine Dion, Bridget, Palladians, Indonesia, Debt Ceiling, Free Will, The Magician, Trident, and Free Speech. Then Nent also equals 185 in Hebrew gematria, and then 318 and 53 in English. In 185, it equals smoke. Some people don't smoke the same. Oreo. A fucking Oreo black and white cookie. You got to screw the fucking top. They even show you screwing the fucking pupil off of the fucking cookie.
With that cross on it.
Yeah, it's got the Lorraine cross, and it looks
just... That was a match before.
And it's just like Elon Musk's new fucking engine, isn't it?
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. Celine Dion, Nose, Cosmic, Lion King, COVID, Coca-Cola, Atlas, Chicken, Carbon, Divic, obviously because it's COVID backwards, Inanna, Sheep, Cobalt, Black Cat, Machine, Sabbath, Menu, Khalil. That was interesting. Nunu, 285 for Hebrew, and then 324 and 54 for English and simple. Stone, TikTok, Lorraine, Hiroshima, Sledgehammer. Forget about our boy Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer.
Best.
Yeah. Quebec, Democratic, Spells, Totem, Origins, TikTok, Scrooge, Satire, Chromatica, Hate Speech, Gang Stalked, Candlestick, Love, Sun, Gabriel, Islam, health, bills, woke, chess, oracle, peacock. A lot of things that we all talked about. Baseball. I mean, that's quite obvious to me, like a cult game, but Isis matches 198 for Hebrew, 336 for English gematria, and 56 for simple gematria. Yeah, that matches Mac Miller, Red Pill, Michelangelo, Agartha, Ectolife, Cassie, Addison, Gibson, Fisher, Red Hat, Big Pharma, Apple Inc., Ophanim. I thought that was interesting. It also matches Will and Cornea, if I'm correct. Cornea also matches Isis in simple gematria. And now the Cornea's value in Hebrew gematria, though, is 179 and then 336 in English gematria. The things going along with 179 for Cornea in Hebrew is Rihanna, 18, BlackRock, English, the King, Caesar, Rihanna, Meatball, Rhino, Mint, Nora, Little Peep, Aragon, Depeche Mode, Drone, Seinfeld. Then the English and simple gematria for Cornea, yeah, because that's what I moved on to now, yep, is April, the light, the end, Isis, Schwab, Kanye, Will, Lucas, Mario, Wolf, Marina, Balenciaga, Moth, Latin, Shaman, Felix, Molech, Ether, Cult, Selena, Ivy, Kenya, Comet, Seaman, and Meow. All right, so I'm done with that. Just a lot of weird stuff when you start running even those god names and some of the things that they match in the eye, you know, in the eye. I just thought that was a wild roller coaster to go on.
Very weird indeed.
Yeah, yo, the crazy thing is, it's like, yo, all the same like types of names and things like scenarios for me, I feel like they just keep on repeating and popping up.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. And it's like, you know, even crossing like certain, like neither the Hebrew, because most of the time, like a lot of times you will get the simple and the English will match, but there was like times that I just showed where the 444 did not match the actual simple, but it still matched that other part of the eye. So it's like you could technically have like three things like actually connecting there. Like I was even, I think I might have said it to both of you, is I was like, you know, I don't have the time with the patients, and it would be like almost like fucking obsessive at that point. But like if you even took like the numerical value of like some of these things in your eyes and in your brain, I'm like, if you were to start running those numbers and how they connect and interact with everything, would you almost see like a fucking roadmap with like Interstate fucking 85 runs all this way and connects this way, and the expressway number this? Like, would you actually start seeing that too? Because you do start seeing a lot of the same numbers, like, you know, popping up for the same shit.
Yeah.
Very weird to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like if you were to enter in the color spectrum, would you get the nanometer measurement out? I mean, or something of similar. I think somebody's done that before, but they transposed it completely to Hebrew, like the language itself. Yeah, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, yeah.
All right, and then we're going to go into the optic nerve now, correct? Awesome. Yeah. Yo, even that, like, that's like the sun in your eyes. It's like you got the sun and the moon in your eyes already.
Exactly. I had that noted down. It's like what the flat Earth, like sun and moon, and within, you know.
Is that the Polaris to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like the darkened area that has like a purplish shade with a bright red dot in the center, that's the macula, and then the fovea in the middle. And I'm assuming they used red light shining in, because when you don't use red light, that macula will show up yellow.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
yeah. Okay. So the optic nerve is a very special nerve, and it carries sensory information, which is vision, from the retina to the brain. And the optic nerve is also known as the cranial nerve 2. Now remember, total of 12 cranial nerves. This one's number 2. And it's considered a direct extension of the central nervous system. It is not a peripheral nerve. It is literally hooked in to the central nervous system. So as we talked about in the retina, the ganglion cells or the nerve cells of the retina basically all feed from the retina and move towards that optic disc, which is that yellow bright center in the area. And then they come together and then form exactly the optic nerve. So, and I think we had mentioned this previously, is that the optic nerve, along with the retina, are outgrowth extensions of the forebrain. I keep saying that over and over because I don't, I think it's extremely important to say that. And if you look at the anatomy of the optic nerve itself, it's covered in the 3 connective tissues that the brain is also covered in, which is the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. The optic nerve itself is made up of 770,000 nerves, or 1.7 million nerve fibers. That is what's documented in the literature. Those
77 and 17. That's interesting.
I know, right?
So I thought, what are the odds?
Well, that's even 3 7s and a 1. If you just want to string all those numbers along, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And all of these are the ganglion cells from the retina feeding into that optic disc. And at the optic disc, they come together to form the optic nerve, which is your cranial nerve 2. The optic nerve itself is myelinated, or it basically is covered in a sheath that is the same sheath as the nerves covered in the spinal cord, which makes sense because it is an extension of the central nervous system. So that further reinforces how it's logged into the central nervous system. There's 4 parts of the optic nerve structure, which is the optic nerve head, which is what you see in that yellow spot. Then you have the intraorbital part, which is barely leading out of the eye. Then you have the intracanicular part, which is now leading into the optic canal. And then once it gets into the brain, it is the intracranial. So those are the 4 sections of the optic nerve structure. The optic nerve forms on the 7th week of gestation. So that's another 7. So you see a lot of nerves in the optic nerve, and that's going to indicate that it's a high level of sensitivity. High density of neurons equals high sensitivity. So that's also important there. One of the things that I wrote down were the diameters of the optic nerve. So inside the eye, it's at 1.6 millimeters. Leaving the orbit, it's at 3.5 millimeters. And once it's in the brain, it's at 4.5 millimeters. Now the total length, the optic nerve inside the globe of the eye is 1 millimeter. Outside of the, within the orbit, it's 24 millimeters. Once in the cranium, it is 16 millimeters. Oh, and within the canal, it's 9 millimeters. So I don't know if those 1, 24, 9, and 16, and then you have 1.6, 3.5, 4.5. And I guess the other thing to note is that when there's specific damages on the optic nerve, you get different results. So like in strokes, different parts of the optic nerve that is damaged will result in different
That is actually kind of
pathologies.
interesting.
And once we get into the visual system, I'll show you how it kind of exits out and then forms an X and then comes back out into the brain. So yes, this is a good picture. See how all of the axons of the dendritic cells, the ganglion cells leaving the retina will now funnel into the optic nerve. And you'll also see the retinal artery coming into and then out onto the surface of the retina. So it kind of pierces a hole into the optical canal and then runs alongside the inside of the optic canal, and then kind of like a fountain, like water, or like the aqueous kind of comes out at the top.
Wow. That even makes me like wonder about like, did I mention Rapunzel before, like her combing her hair?
Yes, yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, another thing I did want to mention. I'll get this out of the way now. I'm backtracking before I go forward. It was to do with the retina. I didn't get into it too much, but I did want to touch on it a little bit. And because I do think after we're done with the brain, I do want to try to attempt. I'm not saying I'm going to fully get it correct, or it could, you know, there might be a few things I honestly think if the Book of the Law and the Gnostic Mass I could show is actually talking about your eyeball. You know, the stuff with even stuff that Nuit was saying. If you were to go look into the Book of the read the Book of the Law, I mean, you talk about all these jewels, all these things, milk of the stars. You know, her get drunk in her innermost. You know, Jesus turns water to wine. You got fucking water at the beginning, and then the vitreous, you know, looks more of like, you know, now blood and wine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Water into wine. You know, so like, is that the innermost drunkenness? And then like the whole thing with like, you'll wear all these jewels and all this shit. It's like, if you were to look at what this stuff in your eye looks like and just fucking look at it and not be biased, you'd be like, all right, yeah, I could see that's light jewels, fucking jewelry, necklaces. You know, right. So I do think that, you know, part of Nuit, she is the innermost back part of your fucking eyeball. At times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did want to touch on that when I was doing the last one, but I forgot. So bringing that back up. Okay. This stuff with the optic nerve here, I do find very interesting. This is another good one, I think. It's really wild. They do start to look like, I mean, to me, I even question this dude.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
The horns.
With the horns.
Mm-hmm.
This guy again.
Yes.
I mean, even look at remember I was saying about like the hairs and shit?
Yes, yes.
You know, could that be fucking Zonyals in his hand again? I don't know. But I swear, like, this shit I do think is...
And what he's holding looks like a rod.
Yeah.
Or some sort of elongated structure. That's what the optic nerve looks like. It's that thick. And you have two of them. Remember, you have two of them.
It's wild how that looks like the lens, too, almost, with the fibers.
Yes, with the fibers, right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like a replication of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this, honestly, I mean,
yeah.
That kind of looks phallic. But, I mean, that's only because it's including the eyeball.
Right.
I had even wondered with this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the priestess.
Well, with her arms being held up like that, that's almost the bowl of the retina. And then leading down where her legs are would be like the optic nerve. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's it. And the extensions out also could be the arteries and the veins.
Look at that shit. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think the priestess card could be showing this right here.
Oh, and another thing about the retinal artery, it is established during the formation of the hyaloid artery, which happens in the uterus. So having a priestess female, the hyaloid artery and the retinal artery being developed in utero, in the womb, in the female womb. Yeah.
That's definitely, I don't know, maybe some people think it's a stretch, but, you know, again, this could even be the whole thing with Laura Palmer with sometimes my arms bend back. All right, so here with, you get into some Jamacha with Optic, Hebrew 222, and then English 378, and then Simple Jamacha 63. Remember, before I had even mentioned, you'll see like 30, 63, 36, 93. Those all I think of might be variables of just flipping the same numbers around. You're kind of making a cross and just flipping it. It matches Hitler, Mercedes, Gucci, Amtrak, social media, bipolar, fake people, gasoline, Sabbathai, charisma, booms, cathedral, orbs, brains, call of Hakate. In English in Simple Jamacha, 11 again. Friday, Yadhe Vadhe, porn, cannabis, divine, Paris, Azrael, witch, buffalo, El Shaddai. These are all things I've read before. The Bible, Medusa, smoke, olive, Chinese, comms, command, Sandy, Oasis, soccer. Then if you run nerve, you get 830 for Hebrew, 384 in English, and 64, very close to 63 in Simple Gematria. King James Bible, Spirit of Nature, MTV, Quantum Mechanics, Vital, AstraZeneca, Fleur de Lis. Then in English in Simple Gematria, Yadhe Vadhe, but that's a W, and that's kind of off. Joe Biden, Israel, Peter, Musk, Zion, Emily, Natasha, Sabrina, Tholema, Ronald, and Anton. Michigan, Mercy, Tiamat, Amtrak, Klaus, Movie, Jubilee, Spell. I read all these before. They're just all fucking matching again. Koroyd, 204. And then for Hebrew, and then English 432, and Simple 72. It matches in Hebrew, London, Ordinal, Right, Penis, Carolina, Sabbath, Black Sheep, Bitcoin, now in English and Simple, Bitcoin, money, Hitler, Dogecoin, money, world, Ladybug, Mercedes, Monarch, Mohammed, Holly, Rocket, marriage, school, and river. As well as Cooper, who is a character in Twin Peaks, Harvard, Diet Coke, Sweet, Eunuch, Trans, Dogecoin, and Swamp. Heliopolis, 321, 720, and then 120. For the Hebrew, it matches Flat Earth, Seattle, in the beginning, $, Klaus, Manhattan, Eastern, Kronos, Sator, Blackstone, Bioimplant, Bird Flu, Commercials, Green Door, Aesthetic, and Oracle of Adelphi. English and Simple Gematria, Illuminati, Klaus Schwab, Archangel, Angel, Michael, Thumbs Up. That's right, now I remember why I have all this here. Hunter Biden, Paul Walker, December 7th, Black Mirror, Gold, Ratio. Dinosaurs, Get Trump, Cardiac Arrest, Vince McMahon, Illuminated, Grandmaster, Kendrick Lamar, Masonic Logic, Netherlands, Flat Earth, Communism, Wayne Dyer, Masturbate, Discovery, Kingdom of God, Scorpius. Now, the reason I brought up Heliopolis is, you know, at some point, if you're in a secret society and you're going through the rituals, you might, initiations, you might come across certain scenarios and certain storylines, and you might be finding yourself heading to Heliopolis. And there is a tent that looks a lot like that fucking Optic Nerve that you don't make it to. You don't make it there because you get pulled away from where you're supposed to be fucking going, in my opinion. But you get pulled away. Eventually, you go through that fucking curtain into that big fucking party. You got all those people fucking partying, eating shit that would fucking hang off of fucking branches and trees. Reading a book. And, and then you come back out, and at some point, you do all this little bullshit. you might get your thumb pumped a few times. And it could have to do with the numbers 4 and 3. Your eyeball, the aqueous humor, the aqueous stuff, what is that? You said that's 3 milliliters, correct?
It's 4.
All right, then
4 milliliters.
And then one of them is 3, correct? Like there's a difference, like one's 3 and one's 4, isn't there?
Yes.
All right, and then if you even multiply that, you get 12. I mean, then you start getting tons of 12 shit, cranial nerves too, and all that. But what I found interesting about it is that like you get that done, and then you get told the word of fucking God is on. You get fucking told it right there. It's fucking insane how much is actually being showed to you as soon as you fucking step foot in that place. In my opinion, what they're showing you is that you've done fucked up already. You're fucked up as soon as you got here. You have been taken away from where you're supposed to be going. You just got fucking pumped into your fucking eyeball. You are no longer going towards the optic nerve into your brain. You're going into your eye and fully engulfed in this fucking world. And you're going to be fucking controlled by it. A slave to those gods. That's exactly what I think they're showing you. Right there, as soon as you get involved. Before you're even a full fucking, pledged member. That could be happening. Fucking showing you from the beginning. Like I've even heard other people say, it tells you everything in that one. It does. And it's why you constantly get told over and over and over again and thrown in different things of fucking water and told not to fucking trust anybody because you have already fucked up. You're fucked being there. Get the fuck out. Because I doubt anybody's going to actually understand what the fuck they're going through with that shit. Until maybe it's too late. So yeah, that's why I included Heliopolis. Because you were going towards there, and I did want to run some of the things that do match that.
Going back to
I just want to finish this real quick. When I said Heliopolis, going towards Heliopolis, and I got my thumb pumped, thumbs up matches Heliopolis. Now you can go. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So in terms of your 3 and 4, so on week 3, you see the first signs of the eye development. And then on week 4, the retina develops. Now, if you are talking about Heliopolis and thumbs up, the only way that you can perceive the sun is through eye development, especially retinal development. And it is an extension of the forebrain, like I keep repeating, in order for your brain to perceive all of the light. So there you go. Yeah, and it's all filtered through the optic nerve.
Yeah, I think all that stuff, in my opinion, all. Yeah.
I just have something to add to that real quick. If I can share my screen for 1 second. Okay. So this photo right here. You guys see it? Oh, there. Okay. So just kind of like going off of what you were saying and why. And Lisa, like with the optic nerve being a direct extension of the central nervous system and the eyes also being that. So instead of like looking outwardly towards like Heliopolis or some other external, goal spiritually, this diagram is showing that maybe, the kingdom of heaven is within, with the Father being at the back of the brain. I mean, we'll get into this with the brain stuff more. But at the back of the visual cortex and brain is like the seat of God, perhaps in our mind. And then the optic nerve coming out towards the eyes, they cross in the middle of the skull, right? So this diagram is just a theory that, maybe it's a metaphor for the crucifixion, because Jesus was crucified at Golgotha, which is the place of the skull, right? So literally our optic nerve crosses, make a cross, and we have their 2 eyes representing the 2 thieves on either side of the cross, right? The right one, the thief on his right was the one who repented and was guaranteed paradise. And the thief on the left, which is our left eye, always left is associated with different path, right? the thief on the left was not repentant and was mocking, God on that day and whatnot. So I just thought that was an interesting kind of like segue off of what you were saying.
Yeah, actually, I think in the last thing that we're going to cover, we even have pictures of that too. Yeah. There was one thing I'm actually glad you brought that up because I totally forgot to just throw this in there. I think it was just a weird bugged out thing that I found interesting. And I have like a little spiel about it. This is the Optic Nerve, but like I was looking at that thing and I was like, that kind of looks like a dude like sitting there chilling or some shit. In a sense of like a big head. I don't know. It just looked like really weird to me. And I don't know, it like made me think about like fucking, maybe Iron Maiden because I came up with Moonchild and that shit. Somehow I got thinking to like the song Moonchild. And they do mention in Moonchild, you'll hear the Mandrake scream. And Mandrake is like a thing known in magic too. And I think you both have like other ways of like saying how Mandrake is mentioned in the Bible and importance or whatever. But, I was like, that kind of like even almost reminded me of like the Mandrake. Because like the Mandrake is even known as like looking like a little person or something. And they say, when you pull it from the ground, you're supposed to hear it scream, And then I'm like, wasn't your boy Drake in a fucking wheelchair too?
Yeah, man.
And then I'm like, that's motherfucking Chariot.
Yeah, and Aubrey Graham. It came up in one of your matches. Aubrey Graham.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we got this dude, the dude in the wheelchair from Nightmare on Elm Street, who looks just like the fucking right there. Remember I was joking about the capes and shit? And still, like, if his head, when the pupil is bigger, that head will lower, and then that's when it looks like Stewie. But when it's smaller like this, it looks like it has more of a neck. So now it actually looks like a head and the cape. And this dude's shooting green lightning out of it. And until he stands up, he dies. Maybe he should have stayed seated in his throne or some shit. I don't know. But I even, Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, I even think of going back to the Hermit card and that wood staff. Elm. I've even mentioned this before when I've covered it. Black Horse. Again, Chariot. Elm Street. I mean, not for nothing or to sound corny, but if you think of those things as being sticks and there's liquid underneath it, it's not much different than like a fucking moat or a walk the plank type shit. Pirates, these boats out on the seas, walk the plank. You're walking a fucking Zanyal across to the lens. I mean, I don't know. But, I had that. Even here, Nightmare on Elm Street, to me, that looks like almost like the tongue shit again.
Yeah, no, just real quick, the cross section on the left, like the whole like beige part reminds me of like either a fascist bundle or like a bundle of wheat, like a shaft. Like, when you see wheat like tied up or whatever
Bundle
for
of sticks.
Being harvested. And then it just reminds me, like, again, in one of the previous episodes, we were comparing like a lot of the eyeball stuff to like the Eucharist, and kind of going off of like the idea of the bread of life, right? So if we're being fed, if it's a communication between the back of our brain and the optic nerve communicating between our eyeballs and then the our vision center. Sorry, what was that word? I forget. At the back of the brain, it communicates between the two. Cool. Yes, thank you. Yes.
I mean, that
was interesting.
If we go back to one of those Knights cards that I was even showing, totally didn't even fucking realize this. One of them, it shows him holding a cup with a crab in it. What does that shit look like right there?
Oh, that does look like a crab.
Yo, legit.
Now that you mentioned,
he's holding a cup with a crab.
What?
Right there, right fucking there. That I have even questioned, is that the throne that was so important in Game of Thrones? Because again, if you go up farther into the head, you start getting things that look like dragons in your fucking head. So now you got dragons, flying and keeping the castle safe. All sorts of fucking weird.
Honestly.
Yeah, the whole mandrake thing, that's where you get atropine. So atropine is used for pupil dilation. And atropine is a derivative of mandrake. And I believe scopolamine is as well. And that's the truth serum. which also is a mode of action on the brain. And I believe it's all along the same mode of action. So,
and you
I
did
believe it
say
leaves your pupil like dilated for a month or something
yeah, I was
like
gonna
that.
say, well, also you said
Oh,
it will
wow.
change. It will change your pupil as well, right?
That's crazy.
And then you said mandrake is mentioned in the Bible for barren women, right?
Something with fertility.
Yeah, it was like barren, the desert again, barren, desert, fertility. And it's just too coincidental to me. It's just my
Themes repeated.
yeah, over and over and over again. All right, here I'm going to pull up the visual system. All right, do you want to go?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So the visual system is going to begin with the retina, in that it interprets light, and then it's going to end in the primary visual cortex all the way in the back, the what we know as the occipital lobe. So everything in the visual pathway refers to all of the structures responsible for converting light energy into an electric action potential that can be read by the brain. So I know I keep repeating. It's kind of important. So the visual field is basically what an eye in a fixed position can see. So each eye has its own visual field, and those visual fields overlap. So imagine like a visual field kind of as a dome, and they're overlapping because you have binocular vision, right? You're using both eyes. And because of this, they help with depth perception and seeing things far away, and et cetera, et cetera. So on your visual field, you have the temporal parts, you have the lateral parts, and then you have the medial parts. In the event that you have any damage to the eye, optic nerve, or what optic nerve will basically sever the entire vision. But any damage that you have to the eye, you'll always retain the medial part, which is pretty interesting that you'll always see in the center itself. The shape of the retina is a concave shape, like a bowl, and that pretty much dictates a lot of the visual field. So if you imagine like a spoon, if you need exercise, if you get a spoon, you hold it up to anything and you look into the spoon, you'll see that everything that the spoon is reflecting is upside down. So in order to have create an image, you need a concave structure, but because of it, it's going to flip everything. It's basically bouncing the light at a different angle. So everything is going to be upside down. And then also like a thought experiment would be like the world itself is upside down, and then right is left and left is right. So that's kind of a way to think about it, and how the retina is perceiving everything.
Well, see, this is even other reasons why I thought like there could be flipping with numbers, like number play, like 56, 65, or like 93, 36, 39.
Right. Well, it's almost like, is the world upside down? Are we seeing right when we're seeing left? Especially with the retina itself, you can separate the retina into quadrants, the upper and lower, the left and the right. And what you see, like for instance, if you have a field of vision, and the field of vision on the right is going to be received by the right side of the left eye, the left side of the right eye, and then the outside of the left eye. So you're kind of seeing it at an angle, and then seeing this at an angle. So it's not that you're seeing it straight up and down. You're already perceiving things at an angle, almost like in triangular form. And then obviously flipped upside down. So everything's backwards. And I remember listening to your shows how a lot of the occult stuff is backwards. Everything is backwards. Everything's upside down. And so it was interesting to read that about the retina.
I mean, even David Bowie said that in Black Star or Dark Star, whatever. I always screw up the name of that.
Yeah.
He even says we were born the wrong way around, we were born upside down and shit.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, as well as the syndrome of Alice in Wonderland. So so the light collected is going to be upside down, and right's going to be on the left, and the left's going to be on the right. So in this diagram here, when you're looking at it, it's color coded for a specific reason, to show field of vision and that information leaving the retina and how it's going to be entered into the brain itself. So if you look at the back of a retina and the optic nerve that's leading out, you're going to be seeing, let's say for instance on the right side of the retina, you're going to see that on the inside of the retina, closest to the nose, is going to come out of the optic nerve and then cross over at the optic chasm. Okay. And then on the left side, the inside part of that retina is going to do the same. It's going to come out that optic nerve and then cross at that optic chasm and then down. But if you look at the outer portion of the retina itself, it looks like it's going to cross, but it doesn't cross. It just comes straight back down. Does that make sense? So some of the axons and glial cells and all that information is coming out. Some of them will cross and some will not. That also is helpful in the event that there's injury, that you have partial vision loss and not complete. So at the optic chasm, you have that crossing and then you have them coming down. So once the optic nerve leaves the outside of the eyeball and crosses, it now goes into the brain, and now that's called an optic track because it's now in the brain, kind of telling you that it's left that orbit. And they'll travel all the way to before I say this, that cross, where they cross, literally sits right on top of the pituitary. So anytime that you have like maybe a pituitary tumor or anything like that, you will have that pushing on that chasm, and then you'll have some sort of vision problems as well. That's kind of a diagnosis that they like to throw in there in the literature a lot. But as the optic tract travels back, it will lead into the lateral geniculate nucleus, which is by the thalamus. And there is where it's going to synapse and then form radial fibers out of it. And that's where you see that fanning over. It looks like a pouring of water out. And then as that fans out, it comes out and then will loop back down towards that occipital lobe into the visual cortex, where it will flip the image or whatever right side up again. So that's in a nutshell the vision system. You have lots of triangles being formed from the visual field that will intersect around the lens area and then form another flipped triangle, making with the base of the retina towards the lens, as well as when that information leaves the back of the retina into the optic nerve, into the chasm, that's another triangle, and then kind of like an oblong one from the lateral geniculate nucleus to the visual cortex. It's a lot of triangles. And that's pretty much, in a nutshell,
Awesome.
The actual visual system.
I thought this was interesting. A cross that has like, to me, it looks like a bunch of just the fleur-de-lis. But like this, what?
Yes.
It's a cross that's like kind of like showing, I think.
Yeah, each one looks like, the two eyes with the crossing optic nerve going to the back of the brain. Yeah, exactly. Wow. That one's crazy.
And even here, I mean, this is for Jupiter?
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter or Mercury. I mean, I even think you get X-22 out of this, too. 22, yeah.
Oh, speaking of 22.
It's funny. I could say his name all day. Nobody cares. Fuck.
The day 22 is on week 3 is when the eye appears. So I keep saying week 3, but it's specifically day 22.
322.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
322.
and on the visual cortex, it's separated into 6 layers as well to perceive all of the information.
Wow.
And it was assigned the number 17 in the brain.
No, number 17?
They numbered the brain sections to annotate where you were talking about. And the primary visual cortex is called a guy's name with a B, but area 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty, of all numbers.
Right? God.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then here, it's my opinion, I think we're seeing that here too. I think with the this card.
That's exactly it.
I think I think this is the optic nerve.
Mm-hmm.
Standing on the optic nerve, like, unfortunately, I don't know if I can rotate these things while I'm sharing them all at the same time, but like, if I was to put that upside down, like, again, that looks like the whole part with the optic nerve, where it's like three kind of like the stuff in the middle and then the sides.
Yes.
So I even think that card is even showing you inside the eyes. I mean, and then you just said yourself too. I mean, you get all these like triangles and all these angles and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's exactly what you're seeing here.
Yeah. An X as well. You see a bunch of X's.
Because like now if he's upside down, if this guy is upside down and that is the optic nerve on the bottom, actually, if you turned him upside down, I could see the shit above his head. The snakes again could possibly be the hyaloid canal bending, or a serrata on the bottom. The fucking lens could possibly be the disc in the middle. Like, I can see like the whole progression going up into the fucking eye, up to the optic nerve, the visual system in this card.
Right.
So yeah, here's some of the numbers for this stuff. I got nuclei 277 in Hebrew, and then in English 384, and then 64. 277 cloud, rabbit hole, dimension, Lucian. I guess that makes sense because it's the same words, same letters. Original God, Katie Hobbs, Comcast, The Big Apple, The Night, Deep Impact, Fallen Ones, The Thing, and PepsiCo. Then it matches English and simple. Takeoff, Joe Biden, Peter, Musk, Natasha, Sabrina, Tholema, and American. All things I've said before because it's the same fucking number. Michigan, Mercy, Tiamat, Amtrak, Klaus, Movie, Joshua, Jubilee, Spell, blah, blah, blah. This I thought was interesting. Neurones. How do you say those again, Lisa?
Neurones. That almost reminds me of the way you say nerves in Spanish.
Gotcha. It in Hebrew equals 510. In English Jamacha, you get 666. And then in simple Jamacha, you get 111. I mean, it could be all 3 pillars too. Or could that? I don't know. English and simple Jamacha, Andrew Tate. Vaccination, computer, New York, Mark of the Beast, a COVID vaccine, Book of the Dead, Image of Satan, and Santa Claus. Again, illusion, Monsanto, the absent of God, Dushland, stubborn, beast test, a satanic mark, receive a mark, Nikola Tesla, Billie Eilish, God of Israel, May 1st, the unseen, the hidden one, hidden God key, and witchcraft. I think that's all I got for that.
And I also thought too, like the way that the vision crosses in the middle is kind of like if you've seen pictures of like an analemma, you know, with like the sun. I have one I can bring up real quick.
Yeah,
one second. Do.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I looked it up. Across
The
sky.
movement of like the sun across the sky for a whole year, photographed, and it also mimics like, you know, the crossing of the eye. I think this shape, the infinity shape, was also in one of the tarot cards you showed. I don't know, it was a strength card.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
The strength card.
Yeah, it was above his head. which I thought was really interesting too.
Oh, because that show like going back to the stars?
Maybe. Yeah. But in the interest of time, that's all I have.
How do you spell that thing?
Analemma?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
ANALEMMA.
Oh, we got that
Double
MM in
M.
there again.
Yeah.
Yo, even that with Modest Mouse, you got the double M.
Oh.
I hate to
yeah,
say
true.
it. Yo, and Analema is 360 and 60. I know for a fact I've seen that before. And 128, it matches CERN, Eagles, Mohammed, Hiram, Gene Code, Fatal, Thief, Fragile, Goblin, Archibald, Crimea. I know I've come across that for something else. Bibles. But then it also matches in simple and English, Orange, Diamond, for Holy, Aliens, Berlin, Miranda, Dreams. Weird. Petra. Bangles, Dracula. Yo, you know what's funny? I was even like, yo, there's a macula back there. I was like, how funny is that close to Dracula?
Right.
And I was like, of course the macula has an M. I was like, is there another part that goes with it that creates two M's with that as well? Yeah, I don't know. Moishi. Keys. And Ginger. I'll leave it on Ginger. We'll wrap it up there. So you can't trust them gingers. No. Oh, God. Just joking. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. Finally, the end of the eyes. I'm sure going forward, when eventually we do get into the brain, we're probably going to maybe go back to the eyes. I'm even questioning, like, if there will be things that, like, because of the brain making more sense with us, with occult symbolism, will we tie back, going back into the eyes and be able to show, like, you know, more of a broader story. You know, could I have been screwed up again like I did with the Hermit card because I didn't know as much about the eye prior? You know, so, you know, who knows? But I do expect there to be ties between the brain and the eyes. You know, and I do think that one's going to be really, really wild with, like, the visual shit inside your brain, too. The crazy thing, I hasn't even really started running numbers with that. So, like, if we start seeing the same ones in there, that's going to be fucking bizarre. You know, like, even, you know, like the same numbers matching shit in the eyes and the brain. That's why I'm thinking, I'm wondering if there's like a roadmap, because I would not doubt that's going to happen. You know?
Right.
Thank you both so very much. Teresa, plug your show. Let everybody know where they can find your amazing podcast.
Sure. So thank you guys. This was really interesting for me. But yeah, my other show, if people want to hear more of me, is the Spiritual Gangsters. So please check it out. It's very chill, conversational, a lot of fun, really interesting people. Every conversation is very unique. So yeah, check it out on everywhere you can find podcasts and stuff.
Yes. And I know Lisa doesn't have a show, but I mean, do you want to plug any of your stuff?
No, just thank you. And it was a pleasure.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. You'll be back. She'll be back with us for obviously the brain part, you know, and the ears. And I do think, like I did say earlier, I think Teresa might have had to get up and go somewhere, maybe. I started to go into how I thought Nuit was, like, in the back inner part of your eye with all, like, the retina stuff. We will definitely have her back with us. I am going to try to attempt some, like I said, of the Gnostic Mass, or at least the Book of the Law. They both, like, kind of go hand in hand. So, so she should be back for that. And even some Elon Musk stuff coming up with Jamacha and numbers. I think she's kind of become addicted to Gematria since we've started this series. Because she was, like, asking me, what sites do you use? And then started sending me massive screenshots and be like, yo, this matches that. This is a flip of that. And I was like, holy shit, you caught on quick. I was like, damn. So, you know, like, even stuff with Elon Musk, she was finding, you know, along with me, that I was like, yo, what the fuck? This guy is stuck on the fucking eyeball. So it's all, to me, it's all, you know, it goes along with this, so why not bring her back for that? So she will be in a bunch of other stuff going forward in the near future.
Thank you.
And Teresa, again, like I said, thank you very much. I appreciate, well, you know, both of you spending all the time that you did to make this series It's like fucking 8 hours almost. So
It was a monster. This
yeah.
one. Those are those little eyeballs.
Right?
It's more than what anybody else has put out. I'm pretty sure. of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
And way more technical, thanks to you, Lisa. Like with all your
Oh,
knowledge.
absolutely.
Thank
yo,
you.
for real. Like, even if you think our shit's like possibly garbage, like at least you learned how the my system works. I mean, fuck.
The I section of your owner's manual.
Anybody else popular out there doing that? Sure as fuck has a price tag next to that shit. So, at least you got
On
this for
Patreon
fucking,
only.
Yeah. So at least you got, fucking you figured out how your eyes work for free. It was educational. So yeah, that's a positive, I guess, to it. The whole series in itself. Regardless, you got something out of this. You learned something. And thank you again, you both, for spending the weeks and weeks and hours in this. So I appreciate it. And hopefully the listeners, hopefully you all got something out of this. I know a lot of people were looking forward to this, and I had a lot of people hit me up, asking me, when are you dropping it? I guess from listening to me mention it in the Tarot series. Hopefully all of you enjoyed this. I hope people learned something, or at least, didn't have to necessarily take every word that we said as gold and as correct. Just as long as it made you start thinking a little bit differently or thinking outside of the box. Like, maybe not all of it I buy, but maybe I can entertain the thought that some of the things that I used to believe might be a little askew, might be a little off. And just look at things from a different angle. It doesn't have to be ours. Just maybe think outside the box. So, yeah, thank you all. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.